Well, hello, everybody. Here we are back at our favorite perch, and I would like to tell you that it's been a great weather week here, but it wouldn't be true. We're having the battle between autumn and winter hasn't quite won yet, but I can sort of sense it heading this way. So, tomorrow's Halloween, and I've got some poetry that is somewhat in line with the Halloween season that I want to read today. I notice when I'm driving around town here in Swickley and Edgeworth that skeletons are very popular. They're realistically made out of plastic, and they seem to be leading the scariness this year. And they are harbingers of what is to come for all of us, perhaps. Halloween, let's talk about that a little bit. It arose in Britain as a counterweight to a Celtic pagan holiday called Samhain, which was a form of death worship. And our Christian ancestors were not too taken with that, but they had already learned that they had to blend and meld some of their practices with the local pagan practices if they wanted to succeed. And so we ended up with All Hallows Eve, concocted as a counterweight to Samhain. Hallows was an early Anglo-Saxon name for the dead, or what we call ghosts. And so the name Halloween grew out of that, with its various mostly innocent rituals, popular with kids, and although they really must have had a hard time figuring it out. And these kinds of rituals, along with the ancient Norse stories, became popular with the writer of the stories that have been made into movies recently. The Lord of the Rings, for example, is an outgrowth of the kind of thing that led to Halloween. Anyway, this is a perfect time to dust off my copy of Spoon River Anthology by Edgar Lee Masters, published in 1915. And it was really the only thing he had written up to that time that was worth publishing. And it made a very big impact at the time. It was recommended by Walt Whitman and by Ezra Pound. It got good reviews from almost everybody who read it. And Edgar Lee Masters, who had started out as a lawyer, reading law in his father's office, as well as studying it at Knox College in wherever Knox College is, probably in Illinois someplace. But anyway, this is a collection of over 200 epitaphs that Edgar Lee Masters made up about the residents of Oak Hill Cemetery. Some of them were a little too close for comfort. And when the book became famous, the town of Lewiston voted to prevent the poems from being taught in Lewiston schools. Does that sound familiar? And ironically, Masters' own mother voted against allowing his poems to be in the school curriculum, and that vote of the public held until 1947, after World War II. Very interesting, I think. But without more ado, here are some of the poems. There's one here called Chase Henry, and I want to find it because it's early on in the book, and it's a good place to start. I'm trying to read poems from various places in the book. I think his poems became a little bit better as the book progressed. But here's the story of Chase Henry. In life, I was the town drunkard. When I died, the priest denied me burial in holy ground, the which redounded to my good fortune, for the Protestants bought me a lot, and buried my body here, close to the grave of the banker Nicholas and of his wife Priscilla. Take note, ye prudent and pious souls, of the cross currents in life, which bring honor to the dead who lived in shame. You notice in that poem, and you will in the poems to come, that irony was one of Masters' favorite techniques. And you'll see it again in this next pair of poems. Oftentimes he will have poems across a page, and they will be giving different views of the same events from the viewpoint of different characters. This one's called Albert Scherdinger. Jonas Keene thought his lot a hard one, because his children were all failures. But I know of a fate more trying than that. It is to be a failure while your children are successes. For I raised a brood of eagles who flew away at last, leaving me a crow on the abandoned bough. Then, with the ambition to prefix honorable to my name, and thus to win my children's admiration, I ran for county superintendent of schools, spending my accumulation to win, and lost. That fall, my daughter received first prize in Paris for her picture, entitled The Old Mill. It was of the water mill before Henry Wilkin put in steam. The feeling that I was not worthy of her finished me. Now let's move on to the next page and read Jonas Keene. Why did Albert Schindling kill himself? Trying to be county superintendent of schools, blessed as he was with the means of life and wonderful children, bringing him honor ere he was 60. If even one of my boys could have run a newsstand, or one of my girls could have married a decent man, I should not have walked into the rain and jumped into bed with clothes all wet, refusing medical aid. So you can see the irony there. Two men with totally different views of the same thing. Now, I will say that Masters was not given to writing all poems dripping with irony. Here's one that I think is a rather nice profile. It's entitled Father Moloy. You are over there, Father Moloy, where holy ground is, and the cross marks every grave. Not here with us on the hill. Us of wavering faith, and clouded vision, and drifting hope, and unforgiven sins. You were so human, Father Moloy, taking a friendly glass sometimes with us, siding with us who would rescue Spoon River from the coldness and the dreariness of village morality. You were like a traveler who brings a little box of sand from the wastes about the pyramids and makes them real, and Egypt real. You were a part of and related to a great past, and yet you were so close to many of us. You believed in the joy of life. You did not seem to be ashamed of the flesh. You faced life as it is and as it changes. Some of us almost came to you, Father Moloy, seeing how your church had divined the heart and provided for it through Peter the Flame, Peter the Rock. A little aside here, which is that Masters was raised in a Calvinist Protestantism, and he wasn't very happy about it. He never became a Catholic, but he obviously felt that he could perhaps pick a few scabs in some of the people in Lewiston and who were pictured in Spoon River Anthology by congratulating the local Catholic priest, which I think he did a good job of. Now here's another poem, and we're getting back into pretty deep irony here. And the name of this one is Harry Wilman's. I was just turned 21, and Henry Phipps, the Sunday school superintendent, made a speech in Bindle's Opera House. The honor of the flag must be upheld, he said, whether it be assailed by a barbarous tribe of Tagalogs or the greatest power in Europe. And we cheered the speech and the flag he waved as he spoke. And I went to the war in spite of my father, and followed the flag till I saw it raised by our camp in a rice field near Manila, and all of us cheered and cheered it. But there were flies and poisonous things, and there was the deadly water and the cruel heat, and the sickening, putrid food, and the smell of the trench just back of the tents, where the soldiers went to empty themselves, and there were the whores who followed us full of syphilis, and beastly acts between ourselves or alone, with bullying hatred, degradation among us, and days of loathing and nights of fear, to the hour of the charge through the streaming swamp, following the flag, till I fell with a scream, shot through the guts. And there's a flag over me in Spoon River. A flag! A flag! Well, you can see the irony there, can't you? He was taking it out on everybody. Oh, by the way, what war was that? Have you figured it out? It was the Spanish-American War, of course. It was not the First World War. The Marines cleared the Spanish out of Manila, and it was an American colony then, and for many years thereafter, until and through World War II. Finally, I want to end with a poem about whose title is Anne Rutledge. Apparently, Anne Rutledge, the one-time love of Abraham Lincoln, is buried in that Illinois cemetery. And this is her epitaph. Out of me, unworthy and unknown, the vibrations of deathless music, with malice toward none, with charity for all. out of me the forgiveness of millions toward millions, and the beneficent face of a nation, shining with justice and truth. I am Anne Rutledge, who sleep beneath these weeds, beloved in life of Abraham Lincoln, wedded to him, not through union, but through separation. Bloom forever, O Republic, from the dust of my bosom. A little history might be appropriate here, and that is that Anne Rutledge was Abraham Lincoln's first love, but Abraham later married Mary Todd, a more educated and wealthy woman, but Mary Todd Lincoln was a challenge, and you all may know her history, so I won't repeat it here. Spoon River Anthology inspired plays, musicals, and many readings over many years, including another one today. Masters was praised by Whitman, Ezra Pound, and Harriet Monroe, among others. I can scarcely think of another poet who got such a lasting reputation from a single book of poetry. Amazing. Thanks to everybody who tuned in today. I'll be back next week with more poetry, and I'm not going to give it away. Maybe that's because I'm not sure what's going to be myself. Oh, I have some ideas now. Come on, give me a break. But it could be anything, and I'm not going to play the game of teasing you. Some of you would not agree with that statement. A week in advance of a program. So have a good time on the verge of winter. Enjoy the fall colors, as I am doing here in Pennsylvania. They're beautiful. And let's look forward to getting together next week for some more poetry. Thank you and good day.